Our world's full of frustration and anger and hatred, and we're so divided about so many things. In Colossians 3, Paul tells Christians, basically, you're not like the rest of the world. You're God's people, so act like it. Well, let's look at verse 12. It says, put on then. Now this then acts kind of like a therefore, and we always ask, what's the therefore? What came first that this is referencing? And the verse before it talks about how God saved people of all different shapes and sizes, right? God's saved people no matter their skin color, their political leanings, their social kind of class, their economic background, their cultural background. People of all kinds are saved in Jesus. So if you're a Christian, you've become part of a family full of people that may look different, act different, think different from you, but they're all united by one thing, and that's Christ. That they're united by the fact that they're God's chosen ones, that they've been made holy, and that God has loved them. They're holy and beloved. So, thinking of the fact that we are God's chosen people in this family, holy and beloved, we are called to put on. So this is like putting on clothing or something, but basically Paul's saying you got to live like this. Put on what? Compassionate hearts. Compassionate hearts. This is, if you think about Jesus would look at a crowd and see that they were hungry, and it said he would have compassion on the crowds. And so he would do some miraculous thing to feed the crowds. This is reaching someone's needs. This is seeing where someone doesn't have something and having compassion and caring for them and providing for them. Think about kindness. That goes along with that. Are you someone who displays kindness to those around you, even if they aren't on the same page with you about everything? Are you kind to them always? What about humility? Do you recognize the fact that you didn't deserve the grace that God showed you? And you turn that around to other people and recognize, I was so undeserving. I am the least of these. The Bible tells us to count others as more significant than yourself. Are you looking at others as more important and more significant than yourself? Meekness. This is the idea of gentleness. Don't be the argumentative one that steamrolls everyone around you because you know that you're right. Be gentle. Even whenever you come up against someone who disagrees with you or who is different from you, approach that person with gentleness and meekness and patience. Recognize how slow you can be to pick up on some things. How many times people are probably waiting around saying, they just don't get this. Why don't they understand this? We should have that same sort of patience that we would hope that someone would have towards us. We should have that patience for other people. And with patience, bearing with one another. Just because we're saved, just because we're Christians, doesn't mean we're not going to be frustrated with one another. We know that neither of us is perfect. We're going to get frustrated with one another. We're going to wish that so-and-so did something a different way or acted a different way or just was a different person or something like that. But we're called with patience to bear with one another in love. And if one has a complaint against another, if we really think that something has happened here that is, if someone has sinned against me, forgiving each other. Think all of us are going to mess up. You probably mess up every single day, and yet Jesus continually forgives you. So in the same way, forgive those who are around you. If you're holding something against someone who has done something to you, and you're refusing to forgive them, you're saying that person is not worthy of the forgiveness that Christ has given me. That's a tragic place to be. Forgive one another. And finally, having forgiven, having done all these things, above all these things, put on love. Jesus says the greatest two commandments are love the Lord your God with everything you've got and to love your neighbor as yourself. This says it binds everything together in perfect harmony. If we love one another, it binds us together as believers in perfect harmony and unity with one another. And it will lead us to bind all these other things together as well. This compassion and this kindness and this humility and meekness. It will teach us to in unity live lives of love towards one another. So let's put on these things rather than putting on the anger, the wrath, the malice, the abusive speech of the world. Let's put on instead this compassion, this love for one another.